Hi, I'm Bet from Bet's Makes, and today we're going to make some inserts, as you can see on the screen here, for a wooden tray. And here's an example of the wooden tray. I bought these at a dollar store, and there's a bunch of nesting trays that go with it. But what we're going to do is take the design you see on the screen, and we're going to lay it down on the inside and then seal it so that we can use it for our own parties and just carrying stuff around. So all you're going to need is a wooden tray or something similar, and then the design from betsmakes.com. And of course, then we just want to have some vinyl. And the kind of vinyl that I used for this is I used a holographic for one of the colors. And then for the other color, I used a neutral tone. So we can use two types of vinyl. They will be cut on separate mats. So all you're going to need now is some vinyl and the cutting blade and your Cricut, and we're ready to go. So let's move over to Design Space, where we're going to be able to take the design, the template from betsmakes.com, and then transform it into a gorgeous pattern for our tray. Okay, here we are in Design Space, and we're going to do some wooden tray inserts. Now, you've seen what the wooden trays look like. There's a number of nested ones. We are just going to make a design for the smaller one, and then you can repeat those designs for any size tray that you want. So let me just turn off our text. Let's go to the upload, and this time for upload image, we're going for one called A, small tray pattern. I want you to upload that file to Design Space. You will only need to upload the SVG file, and then I'm going to show you exactly what you want to do with this. So let's just click on it. Let's insert that image. We'll see what we have to work with here. That looks pretty good right here. And you'll notice that there is a lot of extra pieces around the edge. What we want to do is we're going to cut this in two different pieces. So we're going to have the little wavy parts in the center, but we also want to keep the pieces that go in between so that we can use a double color pattern. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to take this and we're going to take a square, and I'm just going to move it over to the side for now. I want to click on this because we want to see what the size of this. Now it's telling us our width is 12.253, so we have to remember that. So let's just mark it down. 12.253, and the other is 6. So you want to do the same here. I'm going to unlock it. So the width is 12.253, and then I'm just going to hit my tab key, and this is going to be 6. Perfect. We're going to lock it, and now we're going to move this over top. Don't particularly like the black, so I will make it yellow so that we can see it. What we want to do is take this now, we're going to arrange it, we're going to send it to the back, and then we're going to align both of these pieces together. So let's align them, and let's align them, say, to the top and to the left. That should do it. Now those are aligned perfectly. Now I can take the two pieces of those together, and I can then ask them to be attached. And the reason I'm going to ask them to be attached is because I want the outside to cut all the way around, and I want the little pieces in between so that I can have more than one color. So I can keep both pieces. Now this is going to be good for doing a couple of trays. So what I want to do right now is I just want to attach those. And you're going to see that you've got all the colors. So I want to be able to cut this twice in two different colors. So I'm going to start with this one at a yellow, and I am going to duplicate it, and I will make this one another color. So let's do something that will fit in nice with the yellow, which might be a nice green. So when we go to cut them, what's going to happen is you're going to have double of everything. So you're going to have a set of these cut patterns that are the big waves in between, and the little spaces in between. You'll get a green set of both, and you'll get a yellow set of both. And what we're going to do when we take them apart is we're going to be able to mix and match. So all the wavy pieces on one sheet will go with the bigger pieces on the second sheet and vice versa. So you're going to have yellow and green sets here. Now there is nothing else you need to do for this tray insert. You simply need to cut both sets out. So let's save our project. And I'm always going to go to my June makes, and this is going to be small tray insert. Perfect. Okay, we're just going to save it. Now we can decide what kind of material we want, so let's go over to make it. It's going to be a larger mat. Just remember, you're going to be working off a larger mat because this is about 12.5 inches long. You could try to do it on a shorter one, but it might cut a little bit. However, if you tape it down, it might work perfectly. So you can give that a try as well. So we have the two things that we're going to be able to do this on. So let's just click continue. I'm going to click OK because we know it's going to be larger. Now we have to decide the type of material we want this on. For me, I'm just going to use a premium vinyl, and then I'm going to push it down and put it together with some transfer tape and then seal it into place. You could use paper, you could use any kind of material you want because you will have to seal it inside of your tray. So that's all we actually need to do. You only need your fine point blade, and let's cut it, and then I will see you over at the demo table. So now what we're going to do with the patterns that we created, we have the one that's holographic, and then we have the other one that's in the opposite position. We want to be able to put them inside here and then seal them in place as the bottom of this nice little carrying tray. So the first thing we want to do is to be able to take the pattern off of this paper, and it's sometimes a little hard to see exactly what we're going to be doing here, but I am going to take a weeding tool and I'm going to get this started. Now with the holographic paper, it is a lot tougher to see the edges. So what I want to do is just pull the edge off one piece as I see it. Maybe get the corner going here. It's a little tougher than most of the others. Get it at the edge here. This is the same kind of weeding, but some of it's a little tougher than others. This holographic paper does create its own issues, but once you get it going, it's going to be really easy. See, it's not poking through. What do I want here? I'm just looking to see where the edge is on this one. And believe it or not, it's going to be a little tougher to pull it through, but I can see some of it. One piece starting here. I see another one right here. Once we get going, it is really good to go. There we are. It's just a matter of getting it started sometimes. I'm just going to pull some of the pieces off this way so we can see what we're doing here. Some of them are a little tougher than others. There we go. We've got some of it going here. Just move that off to the side. Now this is going to take a little bit of work to weed through this. I am going to start at the bottom here, and we're going to see our beautiful little design. Now you don't have to have it in the holographic, but as you can see, you can pull pieces off as you need to. Now they're not all coming off as perfectly as I had wanted them to. You have these little edges. There we go. This may take a little while. There we are. It's not pulling off these edges as cleanly as it could. There we are. Now I'm going to be pulling these through all the way through the best we can so that we have a pattern piece in place. Just looking to make sure our edges aren't. I just find it a little tough to work with sometimes. Okay, I'm going to weed this through and pull this apart, and then we'll be right back. So now I have the tray. I decided to abandon this one for the holographic because it was not cooperating. For some reason it didn't cut right through. But I'll explain to you a little bit about what we want to do with this. Now, this is to fit perfectly inside. So what I have to do is make sure that I trim down the sides so that they're going to match. So I'm actually going to use my scissors to trim right down and then make sure that this is going to fit inside that tray. There we go. Now I'm just going to put it in this way just to make sure that it fits. And oh yeah, that's a perfect fit. Don't think it's too long or anything. I might trim a little bit off one of the edges here just to make sure we're nice and flush. Just a very little. It was measured out perfectly for what we want to do. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put this design right inside here. And in order to do that, we are going to need some transfer paper. And I have a roll of transfer paper here from Cricut. I'll move that to the side. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this. I guess I better dump it out. It really fits well in there. There we go. So I need a piece of transfer paper. I haven't got that much left on this roll. So I am going to snug it right up to exactly what I need. And I am going to mark it so that we are just a little bit above this line and a little bit here. So what I'll do is I will cut it as close as possible, put it over the top, and then we'll work on how we're going to deal with it in there. So let me just mark with a pair of scissors here. I just don't want it exact, but I'm going to get it close. And the same on this side, we'll get this one close. And I will cut those. I'm just going to cut up to here. So the thing with working with things that roll around. I'm never really exact with it because when we're going to use it, let's put that over to the side. We want our transfer paper then to sit over top as close as possible to this, and then we'll trim the edges off. But we're not going to trim it ahead of time because it doesn't necessarily mean that we can place it properly right away. So I'm going to have to put the corner on this one so I can get to it. There we go. So I'm just going to peel the backing off. I am going to save this backing because I can use my transfer paper over again. So now here's the harder part, and this is why we only wanted one edge as close as possible here. A little bit of a bubble. And bubbles really don't make any difference. as long as the bottom part is flat. Now this is not flat enough for me. Get a few little bubbles here, but that won't make any difference. So when we go to place it inside here, we want to make sure everything's going to fit properly, and I think we'll be okay. I don't think I'm really going to have to trim anything off that transfer paper. It's just because I need to grab a hold of it. Now, our next step is to take our scraper, and I'm just going to scrape it down, and I'm pushing quite hard because I don't want all these little pieces to come up. So now I'm going to take a corner here, get my fingers in there. Didn't quite adhere the way I want. There it is. I want to be able to pull up my transfer paper, and if it's not sticking properly, you can just use your fingers to get it started, because once it gets started it's going to work out okay. And I'm going to do it from this direction. It's much easier to handle that way. And if you see anything not adhering, you can pick it right away. You can get right on it. There we go. This one looks good. Now on the very edges you're going to find smaller pieces, so you've got to be very careful when you pull this. Pull it very gently, that you're not pulling up those extra little pieces. One at the bottom here looks fine. Wow, this is coming off very cleanly. And there we go. Just move that off to the side. Now the tougher part is going to be able to set it inside here. Now I've got a flush edge over here, if you're going to be able to see it. I don't want to stick it all at the same time, but I definitely want to get it into the corner. So I'm going to start from one corner, and then we're going to lay it down bit by bit. Make sure that everything fits, even those little pieces. I want to have it as straight as possible. Now we're going to have a few little issues right here, so what we want to do is just turn this over as we're laying this down. I'm going to smooth it at the same time. So we have a few little issues. I'm just going to pull on it. And I can pick up on those issues on the way back through, because I'm going to start pulling this off. Looks like we're right into the corners just perfectly. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing here. I do have some extra pieces off the edge, but that is going to be okay. You would see we're a little bit off in the corner here. It didn't quite hit the corner. It's not quite straight. So the best part about this is I'm going to be able to pull the edge, and I want to pull the whole thing right back up. I want to get it a little straighter than what I have. Of course, I gotta get my fingers in there. I want to pull everything right up, so I'm going to put my fingers underneath, make sure everything pulls up. It's not stuck down quite yet. Perfect. The hardest part is getting this straight, so as long as we get one edge straight, I think we'll be good to go. Alright, so let's get the top edge straight. Let's start with that. I think that might work a little better. I'm going to lay this down, top edge, getting that corner. I want to get that corner, and then I want to make sure it's straight against that edge. And we are off a little bit at this end. Pull it so you can see what I'm doing. Might have cut it a little bit too much there, but the rest of it doesn't look too bad. Now it's sitting in there a lot better. So we're going to have a few little extra pieces. Now the hard part is we're going to come through and we're going to be allowing this to sit down on the wood, and then we're going to seal it in place. Now if you were ambitious, you could actually put another color in between here, and that's what I was going to do with the holographic. But with the holographic, I found that it wasn't coming apart the way I wanted it to. So we're just going to end up with the one color. I know it's pretty neutral, but it'll give you a good idea. And this one is a permanent vinyl. And we're going to pull up all the pieces. It's a lot straighter. Now the hard part is going to be pulling this transfer paper up because it's such a small area. I do have my little tweezers here. Looks like I can probably pull that piece from here. Now you see some of it is not sticking the way I want it to. I'm going to take a smaller scraper here. I'm going to work it onto the wood. I could probably have sealed the wood ahead of time. And once it gets going here, if I can pull it off this way. Okay, looks like we're going to be able to pull most of this now. Hold that down. Pull it very gently. Getting it started is always the hardest part. Where you want it to. One more piece to try and pull here. We've got two more pieces, so I'm going to have to pull this back, and I'll put it back on the surface because I've got to get it off of this transfer tape and onto that surface. Once we get it started like that, then it'll be easier to pull it off. Okay. Looks like we're starting to get a hold of it now. Okay, I have one more piece for me to stick in here. This is tough to pull. Make sure we're getting everything. I know it's taking a long time. You want to make sure you have it right. is tough to pull up sometimes, and you want to have a beautiful surface. As you can see, this is going to turn out gorgeous once we can get the transfer paper off. So I'm going to continue to pull through and mush this down, and then we'll be right back and we will finish putting this together. So I've taken all the transfer paper off now, and you can see we've got this beautiful little design in the bottom, and I'm just going to push it down a little more just to make sure it sticks. So what we're going to do now is we're going to apply a little Mod Podge to it to seal it into place. Now, Mod Podge is really easy to use. You have several different types that you can use. The one we're going to use is a matte finish. And all I'm going to do is shake it up, and I'm going to apply it to this piece. And I'll just get out a little brush. I haven't opened this one before, but Mod Podge is a wonderful thing to use. Just slice it open that way. It looks like a little bit of glue. It will have a matte finish when it's completely dried in. I'm going to get a little brush. So just give me 1 second here. I don't need a big brush when I'm working with this, but I've got this particular one, so I'm just going to coat this. And this will keep all of my little vinyl pieces together. Don't have to have a big coating on it, but it will seal it into place and make sure that nothing lifts up. It also makes it a little more waterproof as well. Now you can do this with any kind of surface, any wood surface, and it's just sometimes your transfer paper, I had a little trouble with the transfer paper on this particular one. It just didn't want to release the way I wanted it to. I had to work through and place a couple of things by hand, but that's okay as well, because then you get exactly what you're looking for. Now it doesn't take too long to coat it. It does dry into a matte finish, so not to worry, you won't see the white, but it does give it a nice seal. And it's not going to lift, and you're going to be able to use it for drinks and water and not worry too much if somebody spills something in your tray. So until next time, happy crafting.